reception line. We're not recording this call or attempting to identify the phone number and or location from which you are calling. Our policy is to preserve your anonymity within the limits imposed by law. If you choose to identify yourself, this anonymity cannot be guaranteed. Please be patient while you are connected with the first available advisor to assist you. Thank you for the opportunity to address your concerns. To continue, press 1 for tenant health care. Press 2 for Conifer Health.
Wait while I transfer your call. Your call may be monitored for training, quality assurance, and other purposes.
Thank you for holding. My name is Emma. Are you going to file a report or follow up on a report?
To file one.
Okay, and just to confirm, tenant health care?
Yes.
All right, and just a brief sentence, can you describe the primary reason for your call?
I reported twice to administration safety issues, and they haven't reported any, including sentinel events. They were told to me to write up on paper and never followed up on. And there were some events this weekend. I talked to the medical director, and they have called me from Human Resources, and they have terminated my ability to use the computer system. And I called and asked, and they said, HR, I have to take it with them, if they had canceled it. And I want to know, I mean, I haven't been able to file a grievance. I've never been given a written warning, a verbal warning, nothing. Nothing's in my file right now, but it doesn't say that it won't be. It's really retaliation for reporting incidences and to that medical director and the CNO as well as my administration.
Okay. I'm going to ask you more questions to get a little bit more details, but before that, I just have a few standard questions.
Okay.
Ask you? Okay. So, are you a first-time caller?
Yes.
Okay. How did you hear about the hotline?
I had worked with a tenant before, and I knew someone that had used it. So.
Okay. And are you calling in reference to the 1445 Ross Avenue, Dallas, Texas location?
No, St. Francis Hospital, Memphis on Park Avenue.
Okay. Do you have the exact address that I can?
I will look it up. Hang on. Okay. It is 5959 Park Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119.
38199.
38119.
Okay, thank you for the correction. And what city was it?
Memphis.
Okay, so what is the name of the facility where the issue is occurring?
St. Francis Hospital, Memphis.
Okay, which department is the issue occurring?
ICU.
Okay, thank you. And have you discussed this issue with your supervisor, department head, or HR?
The situation, I had spoke to my director and the nurse manager on, it was Friday. I spoke with them about basically retaliation, and we had like 3 patient assignments that weren't appropriate. Definitely couldn't even assess a 3rd patient with them. And I came in on Saturday to the same situation.
So the director his or her name?
Her name's Stephanie Cowen, Cowen.
Okay. And that was Cowen.
En
Okay. And the nurse manager's name?
is Maxine, Maxine, Taylor, Taylor.
So you spoke to the director, Stephanie Cowan, and the nurse manager, Maxine Taylor, correct?
Yes, ma'am, on Friday in Maxine's office.
Just a few more standard questions, and I am going to go back to the details.
Okay.
You just told me. So it says, what is your involvement in the issue? I said, it happened to you. Is this an ongoing issue?
Yes.
Yes. No. Yes. What is the date of the most recent occurrence?
That would be on Saturday. What was it?
Saturday the 16th.
16th, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you reported this issue with anyone in the organization? Yes.
No.
No?
In the organization besides them?
Yeah, I was just considering the director and the manager part of the organization.
I asked to speak to the CNO on Friday, and she wouldn't contact me. And I've asked numerous times to speak to the CEO, and she's never gotten back with me. I addressed issues 6 months ago when I came to the hospital, and they were addressing them. I had called administration down to the unit to show them how unsafe it was. And they haven't fixed these issues, and it's been 6 months.
It's saying where did the issue occur? It says, I'm going to say on-site. It gives me the option.
Yes, ma'am.
Off-site.
Yes, ma'am.
And your relationship with the company employee.
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to provide your first and last name and information?
Yes. Yes. First name's Karen, Karen. Last name, Baxter.
Okay. Baxter. And what's your job title?
Registered nurse.
Right. And would you like to provide a home business or mobile number?
Yes. 901-606-4159.
Mobile number, correct? 901-606-4159?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I know you already kind of told me what it was, but can you just go ahead and explain to me a little bit more details of the issue and what's going on? And I'm going to go ahead and start typing as you speak, okay?
I have a lot.
Okay.
Can I start with... I'm sorry, can I start with 6 months ago, or do you need me to start with the most recent?
If you would like to report what happened 6 months ago about you trying to contact the CEO and everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead and start with that.
Okay.
But I am going to have to organize my notes after you explain it to me and read it back out to you. So,
Okay.
try to be specific.
Yes.
You could, just try to get to the point, but definitely if you want to report what happened 6 months ago, go ahead and do that.
Okay. Let's see. I was hired in February 2017. I was hired with a CVICU contract of a day weekender. When I arrived, the director had resigned and quit. So they really didn't even know I was there for 2 weeks and why. They thought I was like an agency. We don't have a CVICU or ICU educator. So my orientation process was absolutely horrible. I had to find my own people to work with. I would pick out nurses that would teach and beg them. The people that I was with that month in orientation, they weren't weren't provided with the we're supposed to be stroke certified within 6 months. We weren't told that. And the 6-month period arrived, and I was suspended by the CNO, which was later retracted because the whole class from that 2 weeks to 3 weeks, they haven't been told of the class. So without talking with us, without anyone speaking to us about the class and to register, we were suspended. And at that time, the CNO was Wanda Pepperoni.
Wanda, WANDA.
Peperone.
Okay, so you were suspended, and was the whole class suspended?
Yes.
You didn't?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was coming from the CEO. There wasn't an ICU educator. Really, even my skills, we have like sheets to sign off, and they were never taken up. They just asked me. They came by one day. He said, "Are you ready to come out?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." Never asked to look at my sheet. Nothing. I was hired specifically for CVICU. It's an 8-bed unit. And I was told by many nurses I've never been able to work down there except 2 days. And I spoke with several nurses that were hired around the time. So they're recruiting CVICU nurses, but they're putting them in the ICU to work. They won't let you go to CV to work. So that's basically a breach of contract there.
And just to have that correct, it was CVICU?
Yes, ma'am, a cardiovascular ICU. And I've asked them numerous times about it, and they basically just blown me off. So.
Okay. All right. Do you have any additional information, or is that?
No. At the time, it was like a horrible orientation. Did my own thing. But that's the reason, we were suspended because we didn't have an educator. No one told us. So that's like an orientation thing. When I got out of orientation, I called administration down 4 weeks out of orientation. There was a sentinel event in ICU with a 20-year-old that I had had the day before. When I left, she was stable, awake, alert, oriented. She wasn't on any IV drips. She was sitting up speaking with her mom. And I left, and the doctor, Dr. Panton, she had gone in with me that evening. We said bye to her at 7 p.m. And when I came back the next morning at 7, the patient was unresponsive. She was on a BiPAP machine for giving her breath. It's through like a ventilator machine, but it's called a BiPAP. It's face mask ventilation. And the alarms weren't on. She had been breathing 45 times a minute since 9:30 that night, and it wasn't reported to the physician. Also, the monitors for the nurses at the station, her monitor was turned off. So they never knew like any variations out there where anybody else could address it. She
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You left at 7 p.m. that night?
Yes, ma'am, and came back at 7 the next morning.
And the doctor, what was the
Dr. Panton, Panton, critical care.
Okay, and the doctors noticed that the next morning?
We were walking through. We told the patient bye that night, so we know she was sitting up, no distress, breathing in the 20s, actually taking liquids off the BiPAP machine. She was doing great. And
the next day,
Yeah, the patient.
Behind the minute.
Yeah, she was.
And the nurse station monitor was off, correct?
Nurse. Yeah, the nurse monitor was off, and the breathing machine alarms were off. So neither respiratory or nursing addressed this. Her respirations. We intubated her at 7 that morning because she was in severe respiratory distress. And when we intubated her, she lost her pulse.
Do you want to provide the name of this patient or?
Yes. Last name is Albea. And first name was Tynecia, Tyneca. She was 19. I'm sorry, not 20. She was 19. Okay, you're fine.
So I just want to confirm the spelling of her name. Was it Tyneca?
To my recalling, that was it, but I know her last name was Albea, Albea. She's either 19 or 20. She was a college student with Dr. Panton's son, so okay. We performed CPR for an hour and 45 minutes. We never regained a pulse. I called a cardiovascular doctor that I knew. His name is Dr. Das, DAS, cardiology. And he placed pacing wires in her heart to see if we could restart them, and it didn't work. So we took her and scanned her while continuously doing CPR, and they were in place. We were just unable to get a pulse back from that. Baptist Hospital, they have a heart transplant team, and we called them to see if they could put her on a ECMO machine, which is a cardiac bypass machine. But when they arrived, her pupils were blown and we had no pulse, and we weren't able to do that procedure for her.
And I will organize my notes and read this all back out to you at the end to make sure I have everything correct. But we can go ahead and continue. Is that the rest for that section, or do you have anything?
I spoke to our manager at the time. Her name was named Angela. I can't recall her last name. She left about 3 weeks after I got there, but she was the nurse manager at the time. And I was told to write these down on paper, not to put them in the computer, and hand them to her. She never followed. I'm sorry.
Write these down. These as in the incident. Okay.
Yes, the incident. They do like supposed to do a report on Sentinel events. And I was told to write my part down and to give them paperwork, and they would put it in the computer and call risk management. It was never followed up on, ever. During that 4-week period, I don't have a patient name. I came in and there was a hospitalist that was rounding, and through the night, this guy, he had abnormal platelet level, and they called the wrong physician, and so it was the wrong physician giving the order to transfuse platelets, and there was a reaction to platelets that the nurse was told by the critical care. They have a physician's assistant, not a physician assistant, a nurse practitioner critical care at night. And she said that he told her not to write it up as a transfusion reaction. So it was never followed up with by lab. I wrote up my part in paper again to Angela, and it was not addressed with risk management.
Transfusion reaction.
Yeah, the thing is, they called the wrong physician. They called the critical care practitioner when he wasn't even seeing the patient, and received an order to transfuse platelets. And the patient had a transfusion reaction, and they called him to see the patient, and the reaction was never reported to lab. There's supposed to be like a blood panel drawn, sent to lab to see why the transfusion reaction occurred, and none of that was done.
Okay. Then you also handwrote this report and sent it in. Did you send that in to Angela as well? And it was never reported?
Yes. And also, our assistant nurse manager on the first case with Tania Albia, he looked me straight in the face and said, "You know, she was going to die anyway. What are you doing?" When I was writing that report up.
Writing down that quote. Just give me a second.
Yes.
Okay, so the assistant nurse manager looked you straight in the face and said, "You know she was going to die anyways. Why are you writing that down?"
Yes.
Okay. And just to confirm, I'm adding the names into the list to give me.
Okay.
And just to confirm the name.
His first name is Mike. Last name starts with a C. I can't spell it to save my life.
That's okay. Did you get all the points across for me to then organize my notes?
Yes, ma'am. For that one, I have one more incident.
Okay.
Around that time, I have some after, but we'll get to that. This is prior to me meeting with administration. There was also a patient. We have an ICU. We have pods A through F, and there was 4 ICU.
F or F?
There's A through F, so there's 8 beds in each unit. The thing is, there's supposed to be 2 nurses on each unit at all times. The nurse I was working with had to go off the floor for a test with his patient. And so I had 3 ICU patients to watch. And the nurse manager, assistant nurse manager, Scott Chapman, he refused to come over to my unit. So I was alone with the 3 patients. And my patient lost a heart rate, and we had to code her. The only person in the unit with me was Dr. Peter Law. And
Peter, what was his last name?
LAW, he's the critical care director now. So he performed CPR as I bagged the patient, hitting the code button. No one came for 7 minutes. They said they did not hear it overhead. And the people that said they heard it said that everybody goes to those. We thought there'd be 100 people. I couldn't administer the medications in bags, so the patient lost her heart rate, and she didn't regain it because didn't have the medications to administer from lack of nurses and staff, and the patient expired.
Scott Chapman is an assistant manager?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm I had that accurately.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Okay, I've added that.
And the week after that, I reported that as well. I'm sorry.
I just have the date. No, sorry.
I was there, I was in orientation 8 weeks, and my first 4 weeks out, there were 3 sentinel events. So I'll have to look back on dates. I don't have specific dates, but this was all within a 3 to 4 week process. The 4th week is when I called administration to come down for patient safety concerns. And the CNO, Wanda Pepperoni, came. And the HR director, Keith Stanhill, came.
Keith,
Stanhill.
Dr. Keith Stanhill?
No, he's the human resources manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the head of HR at the hospital.
So he came in when you were
Yeah.
reporting the patient safety concern?
Yes, and also
Safety concern too?
yes, all of this was addressed to them, as well as the safety concerns that I have as well.
Okay, so you reported your patient safety concerns to Keith Stanhill in HR, and what did he say?
The thing was, the CNO was there, the head of HR was there, and we called in Stephanie Cowan, the administrator she's the director over ICU.
Stephanie's last name?
Cowan, Cowen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they came, and I had these violations that I gave them. I had a list. On that list were the 3 the sentinel events that I spoke to you about, the 2 deaths, and and the blood transfusion reaction. They all took notes. They were down there 3.5 hours for me. I had a ton of violations. This is 19 years for me. And I reported how unsafe it was because we really didn't have any administration because Angela had left before that 4 weeks was up. And Amanda Rogers, who was over CVICU, had left. So we really didn't have anyone at all except for the assistant nurse managers. And this is like the week after Stephanie Cowan was hired. So we wanted to bring her in on it, and I wanted to tell them this was happening before she came and things needed to be addressed.
Everything that you reported to all these people about the 3 events, you've heard nothing back?
No, but I have the events, the safety events that I spoke with them about. And they wrote them down and said they would investigate with risk management. Risk management I haven't spoke with, I haven't heard from, nothing's been done. Oh, I'm sorry. The dates, I don't have them at this moment. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I will have to look it back up for you. I'm sorry. I thought you were writing. This all happened.
Oh, I was.
I'm so sorry.
I was.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you on specific dates.
Okay.
They
I will
will.
give you a
Okay.
I will give you a report number and pin code at the end where you can call us back at any time.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
add something to the report, or
Okay.
we'll check back to see if they responded to your report.
Okay.
What I'd like to do now is you've given me a lot of information.
Yeah.
I would like kind of organize my notes to make a clear report. So
Okay.
it's going to take probably several minutes. So I'll put you on hold and then read it back out to you.
Okay.
And give you the report numbers.
Okay.
Okay?
She's like, oh fuck.
You're so good at fucking talking right when the other person talks. It's
It's
uncanny how well you are at doing it. Here.
Okay.
Oh, I was talking about my hair tie, but you can have
Oh.
those as well.
Okay.
I went ahead and added that too, but I still need to go back and
Oh yeah.
get a report. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you back on hold, but check back in with you every 2 minutes to make sure you're
Okay.
still on. And
Okay.
it's still working, okay?
Okay. I'm here. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. I do have a quick question. You do have all of this written down on paper. You have a copy
Yes.
of that, correct?
Yes, and I will send it to you as you need it.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah. Yeah.
And send it to us because I'm typing this all out
I
and
know.
I'm gonna make it as accurate as I can, but it is gonna take me quite a lot.
Yeah, and I have so much
It
more.
looks like it's taking up it's paragraph after paragraph because I was typing as you were talking and you said
Yeah.
and I'm just suggesting that you maybe send it in and I can give you that address just to confirm that it's accurate because I know how important that is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I just
I
really.
can send you, but it's gonna take a while longer, and I'll have to read it back out to you, and we'll kind of go back and forth, and I can do that for you. But you have so much information.
Yeah.
Definitely send it in, and then it'll go directly after we retrieve it. We'll send it to the company. And
Definitely. Yeah.
so do you want me to give you that?
Yeah, I have it in scattered pieces. I just need to get something. What do I do tomorrow if they won't allow me to file my grievance and they terminate me?
What I can do is I can go ahead and just send the part. I can right now go ahead and send that part that right now that's your most important.
Yeah.
That's most important right now to you is that this is sent so that there is there's a report that you might get fired tomorrow. You are definitely you don't want to come into work tomorrow and be fired immediately.
Yeah.
Go ahead and put that and send it in, and then I can give you the information for you to put in all that documentation for us, and we'll retrieve it and send it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's my big thing, because these things I'm telling you were addressed with them 6 months. And they had 6 months to rectify the situation. And 2 major incidents happened Friday and Saturday. And I told the director, medical director, about it. And I was told leaving on Saturday that one by a neurologist, because I had asked, I mean, they're not following policy with special patients, especially neurology patients, neurosurgery, and now we have an interventionalist. And the interventionalist told me he had turned in his resignation because his patients weren't being taken care of. He's had sentinel events. Nothing's been done. The nurses that have them have not been trained either in stroke or have never taken care of the patient that has like a neurosurgery. There's protocols. They don't know them. There's a bariatric surgeon I've spoken with that said that his policies weren't being followed. And when I met with administration 6 months ago, I told them, I said, I can help you. And I told them for like specialties, you know, we can put things in the computer that will help out, because like gastric bypass patients, they can't have NG tubes because it goes directly to their stitches. And there's been 2 instances that nurses have put them down, and one was like a sentinel event. I know Trevor Fetter came around that time, and Dr. Wagner spoke with him about the nursing concerns, and basically them putting NG tubes down gastric patients. That was a very big thing. And I told the director of nursing, I said, put protocols in the computer. Just put them in the computer, and nobody would ever have to call for, like, to place an NG tube. We know, you know, no. Administration, they don't know the specialties of the nurses, who's taking care of what. They don't care. They're putting patients with strokes, you know, we have to check them like every 15 minutes, every 30 after they get TPA. That's not being followed. They give them 3 patient assignments, stroke certification. Had a nurse, you know, 2 weeks ago, I'm not stroke certified, told me the patient had a stroke when they really had a head bleed. And we had to, we were going to put in like a ventriculostomy. And, you know, there was changes overnight. She didn't report. And there were changes with a neurosurgery patient on Friday that I had to report as well. And I asked the medical director, why don't we have a neuro unit with trained neuro nurses like we do for cardiovascular? And I told him about, you know, the nurses. Nobody knows. 3 patient assignments. Labs not called. There's been a ton. And they just look at me and they said, write it down on paper this weekend. I was already there till 8 p.m. each night. And it's just unable to be done. Even like documentation, it's like impossible. They have no medical assistants. They're using them as sitters. Our ICU, if we do have one, they help with 48 patients. The nurses each had 3 patients. It's just a horrible thing.
And okay, so I just want to let you know what I have right in the report right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've noted on December 21st, 2017, HR called Karen to say a guy told him to remove Karen from the computer system.
Yeah.
Karen feels like she will be fired tomorrow. Karen does not want to walk into work tomorrow and be fired immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Karen is not allowed to put her reports in writing, so she will send it in. Karen has requested for an immediate response once the information is received.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a report number
Okay.
and a PIN code, and then I will go ahead and give you the address to send in the information.
Thank
okay?
you.
But I will give you the report number and PIN code.
Okay. All right.
Do you have a piece of paper?
I do. Many.
Okay, so it's T as in Tango,
Uh-huh.
N as in November,
Mm-hmm.
H as in Hotel,
Okay.
-17,
Okay.
-12,
Mm-hmm.
-0154. And then the PIN code is 6738. And you can repeat those back out to me and I can confirm it for you.
Okay. The report TNH 17120154. The PIN is 6738.
Correct. So you'll need to refer to this report number and PIN code in any future communications.
Okay.
Bonded to this,
Mm-hmm.
or if you would like to add something. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the mailing address, or
Okay.
would you like a fax?
Is there an email I can send you with this information?
There's not an email. You can either mail it by like a mailbox, or you can fax it.
you know, what are they going to do tomorrow without this information, you know? That's what worries me. You know, because they're going to need all of it. And in my, you know, if I get to file my grievance, you know, these things are in it and you don't have it, you know.
Okay, so would you like me to go ahead and go back and finish the organizing my notes and put it all in there?
I mean, can I call back tonight and get someone, well, I still can't send it if I write it out again.
Sorry.
Oh, you know, if, you know, I was going to write it down and email it, but I forgot I can't email it. What time is it?
10:20. Oh, I'm not sure.
10:20 your time, yeah. Oh, gosh. How long are you there?
I'm not really authorized to put
Oh,
that information.
okay.
And I don't want you to. I don't want you to feel bad. It's okay. Don't worry about that. I want to focus on you and resolving what you need.
Okay.
So,
Can we get some...
I want to help you in any way that I can. So.
Yeah. Can we get some more facts? Because that really doesn't state what happened this weekend. I wanted to give you a list of compliance, JACO compliance, if they weren't doing that 6 months ago.
What was the name of compliance?
JACO, JACHO. They accreditate hospitals.
Why don't you let her organize her notes and then you can give her more?
Do you need to organize your notes some more? Would that help you out?
Yeah, I just have, while you were speaking to me, I was trying to type every word.
Oh, God.
So it was a lot of back and forth and how our reports are supposed to be. We have
Yeah.
to chronologically, we have to put in names and certain spaces and dates and persons. Like, there's a lot of, like, extra work. And so right now, I don't have a clear report. I need to go back and I need to, like, write it, like, and actually, like, I need to.
Can you do that and I'll be on hold? Is that okay? I mean...
Yeah, I'm just required to check back in with you, like, every, like...
Yeah. Do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to put... Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold, and I'll keep checking back in, okay?
Okay, thank you.
That whole time, that's